All right, so Malta is the southern European island country, which has become known as Blockchain Island in recent years, thanks to its status as a crypto safe haven. Now, back in 2018, the Maltese government passed new laws establishing a comprehensive cryptocurrency regulatory framework, which made the island nation one of the most progressive blockchain jurisdictions on the planet. Now, about 2 years ago, the world's largest crypto exchange platform, Binance, was facing regulatory uncertainty within China, Hong Kong, and even a crackdown after moving its offices to Japan. They were only in Japan for 2 weeks before the Financial Services Department of Japan began cracking down on them, and they announced that they were moving to Malta. And Malta, with its friendly regulatory environment, was a logical next destination for Binance to base its operations out of. All right, that's 2018. Now, fast forward to today, and the latest public statement from Malta's Financial Services Authority, the MFSA, is saying that Binance is not even authorized to operate in the cryptocurrency sphere and is therefore not subject to regulatory oversight by them, i.e. basically saying that, hey, we didn't even, these guys, if they're in Malta, we didn't authorize them to do anything financial, and we're not regulating them. And that puts into question, obviously, just how Malta-based is Binance, and if their operations are in any kind of jurisdictional jeopardy. Now, when Malta passed their Virtual Financial Assets Act back in 2018, a license was made mandatory for trading and for offering virtual financial assets to the public, which is leading many to ask if Binance even acquired such a license for its operational base in Malta. The answer is probably no, because they're not really based in Malta. Now, there's still a lot of uncertainty on the internet right now concerning Malta's status within the Binance ecosystem, considering Binance's international scope. It's unclear. The questions on Twitter are their headquarters really even located in Malta, or if it's merely a legal formality? Spoiler alert, their headquarters are not in Malta and never were. Now, this matter has really only been made worse, in my opinion, thanks to ambiguous statements from Binance executive Ted Lin. Yeah, there we go. Ted Lin, that's their CGO. He went on record stating that Malta is not the headquarters per se. It's the spiritual headquarters. Okay. And then CZ, of course, taking to Twitter, also providing somewhat unclear answers in a recent interview. When he was asked about Malta, he did kind of reply that, we have a small team here. And what some would consider strange is how Malta is commonly associated with Binance, yet the company shies away from stating this as such. Many websites list Binance as being headquartered in Malta, but Binance themselves never go out of their way to either confirm or deny this because they're not based in Malta. But in regard to the Malta's financial authority, the question would remain, why are they suddenly coming out against Binance in a public statement unprovoked? Right? So let's cover where Binance is actually located and the truth about that. And then we'll get into why is this happening? Like unprovoked, why is Malta now coming out? Why is the Maltese government now kind of coming out in arms against Binance? So here's the tweets from CZ. Nothing has ever changed in Malta for Binance or any other crypto exchanges. No licenses were granted to anyone by Malta as of yet. So right, they're answering that no, they did not get a license. According to CZ, licenses were never granted. But here's the thing. Binance doesn't run their trading exchange from Malta. It's their spiritual headquarters. It's really just kind of marketing, to be quite honest. Some media, even crypto media, has such a bad habit of releasing misleading news that only hurt their own credibility and our industry. Earlier stating that in response to the news that Malta was kind of coming out against them, saying that there is a mix of truth, FUD, and misconception. Binance.com is not headquartered or operated in Malta. This is old news and has always been the case. Hence, there's quite a bit of FUD, turning this into a breaking story. The community's comments show that understanding. So if we just go back, this is from Decrypt. Binance's real headquarters are in the Cayman Islands, with Malta largely being their spiritual home, as said by their CGO, Ted Lin. In reality, if we kind of look at how Binance is broke up, the crypto exchange Binance is registered in the Cayman Islands and also in part in Seychelles. Exactly where BitMEX is located, according to the registry offices of each country, again, according to Decrypt over here. This was already previously reported on in the Financial Times, but unfortunately has not become common knowledge in the space. A poll by Larry Cermak shows that this is largely not very well known. So in 2017, Binance registered Binance Holdings Limited in Georgetown in the Cayman Islands. In March 2018, Binance used that name and address when registering multiple trademarks of the Binance name and logo. Again, Binance does a lot of franchising where they basically franchise their name and their execution, their exchange engine out to companies in other countries to run. So that's why Binance US is run by BAM Trading Services. The CEO of that company is Catherine Coley. And they are basically just renting a franchise from Binance. They're renting the trade name, and they're also renting the engine, right, that Binance built. So later on in 2019, Binance registered Binance Investments Company in Mahi, Seychelles. That particular vehicle, that particular branch of the company has since invested in the Chinese media company Mars Finance in September. Again, this is just a summary of kind of the woes that Binance has been through. They first launched in Shanghai. They relocated to Japan after rumors that the Chinese government was going to crack down on crypto back in August of 2017, right at the UASF. And there's a lot of theories about that. What side of the big block, small block was Binance on? Honestly, I think Binance was so far up the altcoin alley, which they always kind of have been, that they didn't really care. But I do think that they were definitely on the side of the big blocks, if I may say so. And then after they were in Japan, they were only there for a couple of weeks before the Japanese Financial Services Authority demanded that they get a license, which would carry strict restrictions. So they decided at that time, that's when they announced that they were going to be settling in Malta. But again, they just moved their offices around. Yes, they did incorporate a couple companies, two companies in Malta, Binance Europe Services Ltd and Binance Marketing Services Ltd. And we don't have the data from 2018, but in 2018, neither of those companies reported any revenue, no transactions, no profits, no tax. And according to other reports, they're largely just ghost companies. But the fact that, they do have some employees there, they are hiring in Malta, they do have some operations and offices there. Again, it is somewhat of a spiritual headquarters for them. But again, the exchange operations occur in the Cayman Islands. And they also have Binance Investments located in Seychelles, right? And so it's kind of a collaboration and mixture of these different operations that allow Binance logo to operate. And again, according to CZ himself here on Twitter, that they have a number of regulated entities around the world, either operated by our partners or by Binance.com directly, and that they've always operated in this sort of decentralized manner as they reach out. So they are pushing the envelope and experimenting how to become a truly decentralized autonomous organization, because that worked so well for Ethereum Classic. All I'll say is that this is pretty well-known stuff. There's nothing particularly scary about this. Listen, there's two sides to this argument, right? So the one side that you're always going to hear is that, hey, this is absolutely shady. These guys are not being honest or open, and then the FUD starts spreading and the fear starts spreading, right? So that's one argument. And I get that in a perfect world, we would prefer, it would be nice if there was no FUD, no fear, no news, but then, news authors would be out of a job, right? So, that there's some elements of that they're valid, but most of them are not, in my opinion. There's the other element here, which is, listen, cryptocurrency startup companies took a lot of risk and have really helped to bootstrap this industry. I mean, for all of the FUD out there, right? For the majority of individuals, they choose to go to Binance, right? This is a free market. You choose to go to Binance. You know the risk upfront of cryptocurrency. You deposit your funds to Binance and you trade. And the majority of individuals turn a profit, right? Binance gives you access to acquire these altcoins that you otherwise wouldn't be able to, and they do it in a pretty seamless, easy way, and they add features all the time, right? Binance has suffered a few security flaws. Just about every cryptocurrency exchange has, and they have made their customers whole every single time. Nobody that's deposited funds on the Binance has had their funds stolen and not been returned, and had them not been returned to them either in either the USD equivalency of that, or the fiat equivalency of that, or the cryptocurrency equivalency of that, right? Governments are not super happy. Governments do not make it super happy for cryptocurrency companies to operate. And unfortunately, sometimes, as in the case of Bitfinex, for example, because of that, in their kind of quest to be this startup company and provide services to individuals that people want, right? Remember, market participants, customers want these services, otherwise they wouldn't go to Binance or they wouldn't go to Bitfinex, right? When people ask like, man, why do people continue to trade on Bitfinex? It's because they provide a service that the free market desires, right? That's it. If nobody liked Bitfinex, nobody would trade on Bitfinex. They are not putting a gun to your head and asking you to trade on their exchange. Binance is not putting a gun to your head and asking you to deposit your Ethereum and trade it for BNB. They're not doing that, right? Now, the reality is that there are some very savvy investors on there. There's some very, very good algorithmic traders. There's some very, there's very complicated financial products now on Binance in the form of lending, and they do staking and they do margin trading. And a lot of uneducated retail traders can come in and get not the wrong side of Binance, but get the wrong side of professional traders like myself, right? Our tagline is their stop losses are take profit. And I try to teach people how to make that the case for them. But, I think a lot of blame gets pointed at Binance or exchanges in general that doesn't require them. The conversation between that and are centralized exchanges good in the first place for security or for ownership of your coins? And does that represent a huge attack vector for governments to come in and try to take individuals' crypto? Yes, that's absolutely valid. So from a privacy and security standpoint, that's all valid. But that's a philosophical question and less of a practical, like these companies suck and are shady, right? Now, going back into, however, why is Malta kind of coming out against Binance, maybe unequivocally? Well, it so happens that Malta may not be so much of a global blockchain paradise after all. You see, the former prime minister of Malta, Joseph Muscat, he stepped down in early January of 2020. And this has led to a big change of government, leading many to speculate, myself included, about what is the future of cryptocurrency in Malta, right? There's also the question of what the MFSA statement will mean for other cryptocurrency exchanges based in the country, such as OKEX. Is this the beginning of a crackdown on the industry? We don't really know yet, but it is concerning. And what it's most likely related to, we covered 5AMLD. This is the fifth initiative of the European Union's anti-money laundering directive. These changes are coming online right around now, right around this time. We reported on this several months ago. And with Malta as a European member state, even their financially liberal environment is subject to the new rules of the European Union. But as part of 5AMLD, virtual asset service providers such as Binance and OKEX need to register with banking authorities, as well as collect and share KYC data on their platform's users. Now, Binance has had its share of issues surrounding the matter of KYC and regulatory compliance. And the company has a history of fighting with regulators, whether it was in China or Japan. They left Japan to avoid complying with regulation. Now, what the MFSA statement will ultimately mean for Binance in Malta is unclear right now. But it's likely that the exchange platform will just cut its ties and hop to another island nation with favorable regulations. That assumes, of course, that they are not based as much as they say in Malta. And amidst the controversy, CZ obviously released that statement on Twitter about this being a mix of truth, FUD, and misconception. Again, the information about where Binance is located is not state secret. It's not exactly clear where their operations are fully based out of. Again, they have this kind of shell game going on, and it's kind of hard to blame them currently right now, right? But we do have to ask the question, have they set this up to be savvy, or have they set this up to be somewhat on the run from global regulators, and they're currently operating in a gray zone with no fixed address, right? Or is the Rebel Alliance hiding the location of its base to stay off the empire's radar, right? This is a reality, right? Binance provides a service that individuals like. You have to know the risks of utilizing a centralized exchange up front, and not your keys, not your coins, guys. Get a ledger, trade on Binance, but keep your long-term holdings safe and secure. So let me know your thoughts and opinions and comments on this down in the section below.